to have it around the concept of, say, a role model may be limiting. Because what if your potential can actually get you even higher than the person that you've set as the benchmark? So I think it's really the best that you can do as an individual.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Garden Growth. I am so excited. It is another week for us to sit down and help each other to grow spiritually and practically in our relationship with God. And of course, foster holistic growth through sharing stories of personal experiences and professional expertise. I am your beautiful host, Nthibeli. My goodness, I have an amazing person with me today. This is an interview that has taken a second to happen. I have an amazing brother from Adventist. He is a PhD candidate in education. It goes by the name of Moleli.
Yeah, you almost said it right.
Oh,
okay.
Damn!
Yeah.
Guys,
Next
this is
time.
not for everyone.
Yeah, next time. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well, thank you. So let's first start off with you being in education.
Yeah.
And why all the way to a PhD?
I think it's something that kind of caught me by surprise. Honestly, I just took a step to finish the first degree, and then I just didn't feel satisfied with just doing the teaching job, and I just felt that there was more for me, because I was always told that you can study further, you can actually better yourself. Firstly, I wasn't really interested, but after some time, I truly believed that, because of the amount of people that were saying to me that I could, go higher, I felt that, okay, maybe I can do this. So I just wanted an honors. And then after the honors, got good marks. And then I was told that, yeah, there's something called masters that you can try, which I did. And having done that, it was just one more step. I was like, hey, I can actually become an expert in the field with one more step. Unfortunately, it's not just a step, it's a 3-year step. So there's a lot to do. It's tough, but I believe at the end I will actually, finish it. But yeah, it's just that drive to actually, do more, better yourself. And yeah, it's just the attitude that I have. Yeah.
Lovely. I love it. Talking about going higher, today we are actually diving deeply into that topic.
Yes.
Today we are talking about excellence and the importance of being excellent, especially as a Christian. So please do hang out with us. And if you like what we're going to talk about today, do like, comment, share. And of course, if you have not joined this family officially, hit that subscribe button and press the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I post a video. Moleli, how can we define excellence?
I think it's one of those things that can look subjective, right? Everybody has their own view of what excellence is. And I think in many cases, it can be, after some mortal, we look at some person who has done great and we think that excellence is what they have done. But for me, excellence is really doing your best, the best that you as an individual can do. And you can't measure that by looking at another person. It's by looking at yourself and looking at what you actually believe you can do. So that's why I think to have it around the concept of, say, a role model may be limiting. Because what if your potential can actually get you even higher than the person that you've set as the benchmark? So I think it's really the best that you can do as an individual. And you have to find it for yourself and be like, okay, this is what I as an individual can actually get to. Yeah.
So it's not about competing with another person. It's not about being better than the other person, but it's about being better than you were yesterday.
Yeah, once you try to compete with other people, it's really opening the door for a lot of, bad feelings that you may have, jealousy among them. But also it might, lead you to be less fulfilled about what you're doing. Because, I mean, like you said, that if you look at what you were, or what you were able to achieve previously, and you want to better that, then it's more fulfilling because you can look back and say it was there and now it's better, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it absolutely has to be individual. You can only look to others for inspiration, but not to try and beat them.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. Yeah.
How can we differentiate excellence and perfection?
Well, excellence is a process,
Yeah.
I believe. So you're always trying to get better.
Yeah.
And the process of trying to get better has to be approached with excellence in mind. So it is a process. It's what you put in. That's excellence, right? And perfection is what you strive for. And perfection is perhaps more difficult to define than excellence, because essentially you might find that there was something that you viewed as perfection 2 years earlier, and now you have reached that stage and you see something higher. That means perhaps what you thought was perfection was just a step towards perfection. Now, that is where indeed I can truly say that only God is perfect. Because for a human being, there's always room for improvement.
True.
And now, if perfection is the absolute top, then it can't be like really be given a human view to it, because there's always room for us to improve. But is there room for God to improve? No.
Yeah.
So perfection is His, excellence is ours. Yeah.
Love it. What steps do you think us as young people can take to have that excellent conduct?
I think it's it's always down to discipline, right? You set a goal for yourself, and discipline will be you making sure that everything that is hindering or not contributing to this to that goal of yours has to be set aside, right? It's just a simple, discipline exercise of choosing your priorities, that this is leading me to that goal. And if this is not leading me there, then I should set it aside. Now, that's not to say that all that you're going to do is to be living for this one goal and you don't have a life. That's not what I'm saying. But the things that stand in the way, they shouldn't be allowed. And that's where excellence comes in, that you're disciplined, you know what is contributing and what's not contributing, and you stick to that which is leading you there. Yeah.
What do you think makes us struggle to achieve excellence, and we are somewhat, to a certain extent, okay with mediocre and being average?
The answer is actually in the last phrase that you said, mediocrity. I think there's a lot of settling among us young people, right? If you ask a young person that is, say, 15 years old what they would like to be, right, you're going to hear some really, really ambitious answers. Like stuff that really has to do with, okay, this person sounds like they're aiming high, but ask them at 22, 23. Now it's like, as long as, that's the phrase that starts, the answers now. It's like, as long as I get a job, as long as I survive, as long as this. And I believe it's that thing of setting, allowing mediocrity to come in and allowing settling to actually be part of your ambitions. I totally believe that if you had goals at 17 years old and now you are, say, 25 years old, you cannot have any relevant excuse for lowering the goals and the benchmark. So it's just the fact that perhaps due to what we face in the economy, what we face in the current problems that we have in the country, that people end up settling. But I believe that we don't have to change our goals because of the situation. It just has to drive us to, put in more effort, because the adversity has increased, but that doesn't mean the goal has to increase because of the adversity. Yeah.
What aspect of our lives do you feel like we struggle the most in being excellent, and we submit or present mediocre work?
I think in most cases it has to do with self-improvement, right? I think a lot of young people, professionally where they are, they give their best.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of a problem in that regard, because someone gets out of university, they start working, you see that professionally they're trying to be the best that they can be. This is what I see with most people. But in terms of as a person, self-development, and particularly with your relationship with God, I think that's where mediocrity sets in and you don't give it enough time. And with literally anything where the standard gets to drop, it's always an answer of, is the person given this thing the time it deserves? So I think self-development with young people, it tends to, have that problem that young people seem to, give less time to self-development. And that is why professionally, as young people, we can be brilliant, but also be depressed on the other side because the self-development is being neglected. Yeah, that's the problem. And we give more time to entertainment. Entertainment is not self-development; it is self-pleasing, and it doesn't really improve you as a person. Nobody got better because they watched a series.
Yeah.
But people got better because they read a book.
True.
Because they read the Bible. Because they made sure that they spent time with, literature or books that have to do with self-development. So you gain attributes from it. You don't just watch somebody just, living their life, basically. Yeah.
Love that. I was actually listening to Joyce Meyer last night on the topic of excellence, and she was saying that you don't do what you feel like doing, you do what you know is right for you to do.
Yeah.
And once you can master that, then you will work above and beyond average.
Yeah.
You will make sure that your work is presented in a way that it represents who you are, because you just didn't do what you felt like doing, but you did it because it was right. And I think as young people, we struggle with that. You know, we make decisions based on feelings. This feels right, but is it right?
Yeah.
And how, talking about that, how do you think we can overcome that when it comes to doing what is right in our feelings in relation to excellence?
I think you have to look back and you have to be realistic and ask yourself, have I ever seen feelings bringing results? Right? Because feelings, are there, but do they bring results? If I feel like this thing is right, have I seen the result of actually, giving in to that feeling? But if I actually put in the work and I'm realistic about, okay, this is right, I'm saying this one is right because I've seen that it leads to better results. So if I'm seeing that people that follow their feelings are ending up in very bad places, why am I trusting feelings then? Because I have to see that, okay, people that actually put in the work and actually do not set their principles aside, they succeed. But I see that, okay, those that compromise along the way, those that, give in to feelings and, being swayed by other people's opinions as well, they end up failing. And so it's just a question of being realistic with yourself, looking at the results of these, two classes of people. Who seems like they are actually reaching the end goal, right?
Lovely. Let's talk about the tiny things. Like getting to work at 8:00 when you're supposed to be at work at 8:00, right? Would you say that that's excellence, considering that, let's say you're supposed to start your job at 8 and you are arriving at the gate by 8? One person said that's actually stealing because your working time was supposed to come when you're already there at work so that you can give your employer the best of your time. And many a times we find that we are the first to leave and the last to arrive. The reason why I'm saying this is many times we assume that excellence has to do with these grand acts, like us mastering these great things, but it starts in the little habits and the acts that we do. What other examples can you think of that you think we can start practicing and overcoming today in order for us to be excellent in other aspects of our lives?
Now I want to start with time because you started with time and that's where it really is.
Big ups, guys. First guest to arrive on time. Like my guests, you've been here. I am not bad mouthing you. First guest to arrive on time. To be honest, I said 11:00 we are starting, and you were here at 10:45. 15 minutes earlier.
Yeah,
Shout
yeah,
out to that.
yeah. So here's the thing. I like the fact that you gave the reference to 15 minutes. I was gonna say that if you are there at the time that you're given, you're late. So I was raised by a military father, and you know that in the military they don't play with time. I was always told that if you are 15 minutes early, you're not early, you're on time. 15 minutes. That means if it's 10 to the time that you actually have to be there, you're late. But if you're there absolutely on the hour, that means you are even worse than late. Why? Because you can't expect that things are going to go the way that you expect them to go. There's always room for change. There's always things that you don't expect. So the reason why we actually have to put time before the actual event actually starts is that we prepare for eventualities that we're not expecting. So it really is a very, very small thing. It's a 15-minute difference, but what it can actually do in terms of your planning and in terms of how effective you are in your work, it can do wonders for you.
Yeah.
So I think that as young people, really as people, we have to make sure that we treat this thing of time very, very jealously. We're always being told that we are stewards of money, right?
Yeah.
But what about stewards of time? One of the things that, particularly in the church, the black church, particularly, that I have seen being normalized is this thing of, oh, say it's African time. I really hate that. Honestly, I have to say it, because that means we have settled into mediocre acts, and we don't see how that actually impacts everything that we do. Because if you have African church time, you probably also have African work time, and how effective you are in your workplace is going to be reflected in that. So I believe that also we can't be calling ourselves children of God if we don't, respect what He's given us. He's given us time, right? And if He's given us time, we have to respect that as if it's a gift from Him. We're always saying we're grateful for the gift of life. But what about the gift of time? Because it is time that is the object of that life. That's what you've been given. So I think that the fact that we listen to this cliche statements, a 5-second motivational statement on some video on WhatsApp, it's passing by, somebody says to you that, you have to believe in your dream. And that's what's going to inspire you. I think that is important, but it's not necessarily enough of an instruction for someone to do better. But if you give people advice on the finer things, okay, make your bed, be there on time, iron your clothes, make sure you look good, polish your shoes. These are the finer details. If you ask people that actually are successful in life how they did it, they're not going to tell you about some grand scheme that they actually did. It's the finer things. So if a person tells you that, no, I actually started my company in my parents' garage. Yeah, it's a very small thing, isn't it? But we seem to expect that they actually start with something big, but you end with something big if you start with something small. Yeah, and we have to get back to that. I think as Black Africans, Black people particularly, it's time where we have to start. We have to start with time, and then we move on from there. There's a lot of things that we are trying to get inspired by, but we're not mastering time. And I feel like we get to waste a lot of time by not paying attention to time. Yeah. So I do believe that it's in the finer things, and character is built using the finer things. I mean, he that is faithful in little will be faithful also in much. Yeah.
True. I love that. I'm just reflecting now to say, we think that maturity is making these big life decisions.
Yeah.
But that's not it. It's self-control, it's discipline, it's consistency.
Yeah.
And once you can master these three, I believe you can have a life full of excellence in what you are doing in your life. Because you have control over your appetite. You have control over the places that you go to. You have control of the environment or the people that you allow in your life. You have control of the things that you hear, that you watch. Once you can control that, then you are a disciplined person.
Absolutely.
And then you become consistent in those habits. Then what will hinder you from being excellent? You know, something that we actually take very lightly, sleeping early.
Oh yeah.
The difference that it can make, like sleeping a full 8 hours and waking up earlier than expected, having your devotion, cleaning your house, like you said, tidying up the bed. One person said the difference that small things bring in your life is unbelievable. But we ignore that because we are waiting for the grand scheme. We forget that 100 rand is a combination or a total of 1 rand. 100 1 rand. So if you are not going to bank 1 rand every single day, then you will never get 100 rand.
Absolutely.
So definitely I'm in total agreement with that. Now, what dangers are there as Christians? Because I believe we are a brand, right? We represent Christ. We are an ambassador. In the absence of Christ being known by people physically, we are the ones who tell that story. People that don't read the Bible, they get to read us. What is the danger of us living a mediocre life when we claim to be Christians?
Look, it gives God a very bad name. And, one of the things that I have developed as I grow in God is to have this jealousy for his name, right? Back before I got serious about him, anybody would say something bad about God and I just move on with my life. But now if I hear somebody saying something bad about God, like he doesn't exist or he's not a just God or, whatever it is that is not good about God that somebody says, it really gets to me.
Like,
because he's my father. It's personal. Like it's really attacking my family basically because I'm in the family of God. But when they say so, because they are seeing his people and they are seeing how his people act, and they say God is like this because his people are like that, then those people are not necessarily bad for saying that, but we are guilty for misrepresenting him. So I believe that we have to get the right attention as Christians. And sometimes we feel like the only attention we can get is making noise. Now, I'm not saying that when we actually talk to them about the word, we're doing something wrong. I was speaking to a friend earlier this week, and I was making the analogy. We were actually talking about being seen in the workspace or the study space, that you are different because you're a child of God. That when people see you being excellent in what you're doing, right? They see that, no, we are struggling all here as students. We're all struggling, but this person seems to be on top of things. We're going to ask him, like, dude, how do you do it? And when they do, you tell them that, no, there's actually a God that equips me and allows me to do this. And, even before that conversation, you find that people are drawn to you. Before you even tell them that, you're a Christian, before you even tell them that, you worship God and all of those things, they are drawn to your excellence. And that means there's a greater argument and there's a greater case for God to make in their life because they have actually seen in you that God is actually trustworthy. But now, if all you're saying is that God is great, but we're not seeing God's greatness in you, it's very difficult to convince the other person. So if, for example, you talked about stealing time. If, for example, let's say between 8 and 10, that's the first working period before, say, a tea break. If I, at 9, go to another colleague, leave my working desk or whatever, go to another colleague and spend 15 minutes trying to explain the Bible to them, I'm stealing the employer's time. You understand? So when the break ends or whenever the review is going to come in terms of who did their work well, I'm right there at the bottom. But I told them about the gospel. Is God happy? No. Is God represented well? So it's going to look like I'm actually working for God, but I'm actually misrepresenting him because my boss can actually tell them, you know what? The reason we are underperforming is this God of yours. But if I can actually put in the work and actually, at the time that does not belong to the owner of the workplace or the employer, then I can actually be a faithful servant, which we are called to be, to the employer, but also a faithful servant to the Lord, right? So I think that even in my own life, there's been a lot of impact that I've seen, in people around me where they actually come to God or they start to ask about Him simply because they saw something different in me.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, why is it that, you don't seem as stressed as other people are? And, excellence as well. Like, why are you doing better than we are? I'm not saying I'm always doing better, but when I am, it's always the question of you seem different.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the words that I've heard people describing me with more than any other word to say you're different.
I mean, that's why you're here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So it's always the question to say you're different, and I take that very very seriously. And that's when I actually ask, "What do you mean I'm different?" And they will actually bring in God into the picture and be like, "Are you a Christian?" I remember this other time, like back when I was teaching in the school, actually not too far from where we are. And I mean, I was just going about my business teaching maths, talking about maths. Okay. I was teaching maths. That's what I was doing. And then one of the students actually came to me after I marked her book and everything. And she asked me, "Are you a pastor?" I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean I'm a pastor? I've never come into this class and behaved like a pastor." She just said, "No, it's the way you carry yourself." I'm like, "No, I'm not a pastor. I don't even see myself becoming a pastor at some point." But she actually said, "No, you look like a Christian." That's what I meant, that you look like a Christian. So I think it's how we carry ourselves in the workplace or the study space or whatever that can actually catch the right attention, right? Because for a person not having said anything about God to be called a pastor or a Christian, that means they were seen to be living the Christian life, not necessarily just talking about it. We need to walk the walk and not just talk the talk.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Love that. Now, before I ask you the last question as we wrap up, guys, sure. I have to announce that on the 1st of July, we are having the God and Growth Convention. I am so excited. And I think that is why I had to have this conversation with Moleli, because our theme for the day is in excellence. We are encouraging every single young person to have a spirit of excellence, to strive for excellence in each and every aspect of our life, because we honor and we worship an excellent God who has a very high standard. I mean, when He created the heavens and the earth, He looked at it every single time at the end of the day and said, it is good. And we also need to do that in our lives. After every act, after every work, after every presentation, we need to ask ourselves, was this good? And we are also looking at how we enter into relationships. We look for excellent people, but are we excellent in ourselves? And those are the things that we'll be talking about on the day. So please do join us. We'll be at Townsview SDA Church. Doors open at 7 a.m. and the program will start at 8 a.m. It is absolutely free entrance, free parking. All you need is food. And if you do want food, you are welcome to buy the meal ticket that goes for 120. Do follow me in all my social media platforms and you will learn more about the event. Now, as we wrap up, one person says, okay, Moleli, I hear you. Excellence, excellence, excellence. Today, I want to go practice it. What's the first thing that I should do today after this conversation? Because I mean, this channel is about practicality. What's the first step that I should take?
The first step that I would say that we should take is to be honest with ourselves. Go and sit. You can look into the mirror to make it dramatic, but just look at yourself and ask yourself, what is it that is making me not excellent? Excellent. So what's standing in the way of excellence for me, right? What are the bad habits that if I removed, I would actually get better, right? So what am I wasting time on, right? So you can actually, improve yourself from where you are struggling. So you don't just start and I think a lot of people that have made it or that are up there, they actually give steps on how to continue. But I always say that find out what's wrong first. What are you doing wrong? What are you, compromising on? And then you build from there. And just make sure that you set time for things and you respect it, starting with your devotion time. I think it works wonders when you say that, okay, 6 o'clock in the morning is my time with my Bible. And from there, I will go about my activities. It doesn't matter, whether there's pressure that week. You start with where you're supposed to start and you continue from there. And you will, from that Bible that you're reading, actually get a lot of principles about excellence and about discipline, particularly. And then you take it from there. And I would also say that you should make sure that those around you know and can see that there's a change, because I think most of our bad habits we don't do alone, right? There's some friend that always, calls you, unexpectedly tells you to go somewhere with them, even though you have stuff to do and you actually go. So you might want to tell them. Or one time, just, when they call you, tell them, no, I'm busy. Like, try it. It won't, it's not that bad. You won't die because you told somebody no. So learn to say no, and you will actually find that there's more time in your hands, because I think a lot of times we want to please other people and we say yes even when we're supposed to say no, and unfortunately that goes with time as well, right? Yeah. So if you respect God's time, I think that it's very easy for you to actually, you respect your own time, because essentially all of time is His, right? Yeah. So just in closing, a statement from me, right? To make this
And he quotes.
no, a lot more practical, right? Uh, from a godly perspective, God always wanted excellence. I mean, look at how He chooses people to build the sanctuary for Him. You can look at all the adjectives that were used there to describe the kind of person that had to be brought in, the kind of people that had to be brought in to do this work. I mean, they had to be good builders, they had to be craftsmen, they had to be full of the Holy Spirit, and they had to be excellent. God wasn't going to bring mediocre people to build His house, right? And one thing about excellence is that it will bring attention towards you. Now, it will also be attention from the enemy as well.
Yeah.
We are talking about how God wants you to be excellent. The devil does not want you to be excellent. So when you become excellent, you better know that he's actually going to attack you. Because you look at the three Hebrew boys and Daniel, that these guys, they stood out of all the Israeli fugitives. They stood out for excellence because, one, they ate the way they were supposed to eat as God commanded, and they were absolutely meticulous in their tasks, and that caught the king's attention.
Yeah.
Right. So the question is, are you catching the right attention as a young person? Like, if there's a king or an employer or a senior that is looking at you, are you catching their attention in terms of how excellent you are? And if you remember who made you and who placed you in that environment, then you better start making sure that you represent him well. Because wherever we go, whether we like it or not, people are going to say, God is like this because of these people. So yeah, let's just make sure that we represent God well and that we become excellent ourselves. And yeah, you'll find that it's much easier than we think it is. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier than the way that we think that it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Sure.
It's the last part for me. Question is, am I a good sales rep for God?
Right. Yeah.
Whew, yeah, this was an amazing conversation. My takeaway today is go home, identify where the problem is. What is your weakness? Where are you struggling? Because you cannot solve a problem that you're not aware of. And then take practical, measurable steps in order to try and fix the problem. If you can, please have someone that will help you to be accountable for your actions, then do so. And always strive for growth. I believe that anything is absolutely possible with God if we put the two most important things, effort plus faith. All right. This has been absolutely amazing, Moleli. Thank you so much for hanging
Thanks
out
for
with
inviting
me.
me.
Hopefully you're gonna come again.
Look, I will. I promise you. Yeah, I do enjoy these conversations.
But you're definitely coming to the convention.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
I am. Yeah, I promise. It's on record, guys. I promised.
I mean, he is the expert in excellence, so he has to be there, guys. Until next time, take care. God bless. I love you. Bye.